they can't just transport through the city without contacting our fire department and police department.
Are they escorted though as they're transported?
Our effort has been for them to go around the city, not come through. What Councilor Boyle said is correct.
Right, but if they transported through 81, even, let's just say 81, if that truck tips over and the nuclear waste is, we're done with 81,
Yeah.
done. And there's no going through 81 ever again in our lifetime. So that's what I'm saying. Are they escorted and are they transported? Are they in double cast barrels that always, are they in double cast barrels because they always seem to leak?
Yeah.
And if they're not, they need to be contained in a nuclear flask. Because the nuclear flask, if a person who's drunk driving down the highway cuts this person off, which a drunk, I don't know, hit my husband who now is disabled, and runs this truck, I can't tell you how many trucks I see turned over on the highway. If it does turn over, are they in the proper barrels? Because if it's in a double barrel, then we're all doomed. Regardless if it's not coming through Syracuse or not, if it's on the outskirts,
Right.
we're still breathing that in, we're still getting that radiation.
And if I can just add a little
I'm just saying,
context to that,
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We have to ask the deeper question, are our emergency responders
Right,
even equipped to
exactly.
deal with this type of waste?
No.
Just add a little context to it, Mr. Benz.
In short, you're running off federal regulations, which I would assume that they're responsible to assure that they are meeting whatever requirements they are in terms of transport of nuclear waste or any similar type of toxic waste. There are no trucks going through the city. Your point is valid about even going outside of the city, the danger is still there. Our first responders are, according to what we heard them comment about in our council chamber in the discussion, particularly our firemen, they are and have access to contractors who are equipped to deal with that kind of spill. And that's what we were told.
Yeah.
It's being trucked already through, so we didn't even have, a vote or any comment.
Mr. Morris?
I think this is a federal issue. I believe that the way I would handle it, I would be talking to my congressperson, and I think it would be his office to contact the city government and let us know exactly when these vehicles are being transported through Syracuse, and then that way we can ensure the safety of the people in this particular geographical area. That would be my approach. Besides that, I have no type of working knowledge on that subject at all.
Mr. Rudd?
I'm anti-nuclear waste. I will not produce, transport, or sell any nuclear waste. That said, I think the bigger toxin that we should more seriously take into consideration is lead. I think lead is in most of our homes. It's in my home. You seal it. Over time, it re-exposes itself. It's not going away. We need to address lead. To the extent it hurts low-income communities more, we need innovative programs to address that. If different housing programs have lower rates of lead poisoning, we should look at what they're doing different and try to replicate that with other parts of the community.
Yes, me, and no, I'm gonna go back to what both counselors said there. They told us they weren't transporting through the city, and if I'm not mistaken, which I don't think I am, we approved, the fire department has certain apparatus that they use, and we approved quite a bit, and you talked about the thing being knocked off, we approved that, we approved the foam, we approved quite a bit of material, so that if it did happen, they would be prepared to take care of it, and yes, they're notified before anything is brought through. I think the last time anything came through was when the train, because a lot of it goes by train, does not go by the highway. And the last time it happened, I think the train went over on Colvin, and I think we had a fit because we didn't know it was coming through, so they have changed those guidelines.
I live in a blast zone on Otisco Street on the near west side. The train tracks that run directly alongside West Fayette Street potentially could carry that crude oil, crude sludge from the Alberta tar sands, LNG, liquefied natural gas, nuclear. I mean, it's something that sort of is insider knowledge as to what's happening, and the council knows about it. I don't think that information is shared enough with the public as to, this was successfully transported through, and we did a good job at it. However, we need to be aware that those things can happen, that they are here. And for long term, it's simple. We need to invest in solar energy. We need to invest in jobs that are related to solar energy, because those jobs are going to be booming in the next decade. And the jobs in coal, the jobs in dirty mining, those are out the door.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And for the last set of questions, we're definitely going to get through everyone, but we're just going to answer one question per candidate. So not everybody's going to have a chance to answer your question.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, good. My name is Jamie Howley. I live on Tallman Street, so I'm going to direct my question to Mr. Bay because I believe he's my councilman.
Depends on which side of Tony you
Well, I'm going to assume you are, okay? And I'm with Southside TNT. So my question is about planning, because Southside TNT is supposed to be a community-based planning agency. And it does go back to the Family Dollar situation. That second store went up on the corner of, is it the corner of Brighton? Yeah. And everybody said, well, what is it? What's going up? What's going up? So somebody said, somebody gave me the answer that it was a mosque. A mosque is going up. I said, oh, that's great. We want a mosque in our neighborhood. And then I said, it doesn't look like it's a mosque. There's no sign. We don't know what's going on. And we never knew what was going on until suddenly it was obvious it was a Family Dollar store. But nobody included us in.
Right.
I mean, you go up where they're building that, up on Brighton, they're building, well, yeah, and also this, where the student housing is going up on Brighton. So there's signs, they tell you what's going on, but nobody included the neighborhood in this.
Right.
And then, worse yet, that next Family Dollar store went up, and the red awning was the giveaway. I said, oh, it's another Family Dollar store. I said to everybody, oh, it's another Family Dollar store. But nobody ever talked to us about it. Do we really need three Family Dollar stores in that short distance?
Yeah.
Mr. Bay?
And I want to say that you guys need to clue us in more in the future.
Right.
You're absolutely right. Here's the problem. There's always community forums. I'm going to be blunt. Turnout is always about 5, 6 people. I'm a person who put out flyers myself. Some of you know that. And only 3, 4 people show up out of 400 doors I hit. So it's a dual responsibility in terms of information, and we got to be equally responsible for responding to those flyers that some of us put out ourselves, just to be honest. Second, what you're looking at is 3 different markets. Just because it's on the south side, you can't assume it's the same market. The Valley is one market. Brighton is a separate market from Birch Street. In 2005, there was a Metro Edge report that was done that showed that you're talking about 3 different buyers markets. All right, so just because...
But we're the same community.
No, we're not, actually.
Well,
You gotta hear me out. You're talking about markets. So what we don't want... Can I answer the question? What we don't want is to put a business there that won't survive. There's a $1.7 million demand for general merchandise stores along the Salon Street corridor. Businesses usually survive only 6 months because people provide a service that the market doesn't demand. So to assure that the business is sustainable, you have to meet market demands. That's based on where we, 13205, spend our money. So if we spend $1.7 million on general merchandise, then that's the kind of store we have to put there. Dollar General wasn't interested. Just
We'll transition and come back if possible. Yes,
You
sir.
gotta be clear about how it happens.
My name is Abdul Shakir. I'm the Vice President of the National Action Network. My question is in regard to small businesses and opening up small business. I'm not going to beat up on you, Frank. Well, from my personal experience in trying to open up business here in Syracuse, where you all address the issue of code enforcement agents wanting you to grease their palms before they okay anything for you to get any codes to get done in your building. Where you all address that issue.
Let me have Ms. Hudson and Mr. Rudd, please.
Well, first, that's the first I've heard of it.
Can't hear you.
And if that is the case, I would hope that you could give me the information that I need, and I will address that issue.
Well, it's too late now. My business is closed down.
But you're asking a question.
Yeah. Well, what it is, it was one of those things that they didn't talk about. Because I had the same problem in '78 when I opened up my business. I wouldn't grease the palm of the code inspector. I wouldn't grease the palm of the fire inspector.
Right. And that's illegal, and if
Yeah,
that's
it
the
is
case,
illegal.
if you have any instances of that happening, bring it to
Yeah, the city ran me for 4 years. My last business, they ran me around for 4 years and wouldn't let me open up.
Mr. Rudd?
I think the codes process needs to be adjusted. There's been a proposal in the council to work with the state to make more of a like a ticket bureau feature, which I think would allow for businesses that have code, well, any property that has code violations to be handled, and like you're financially penalized for whatever you're failing to comply. Like earlier, there was the discussion of the trash in front of the Family Dollar. If they're consistently not doing that, then they should be financially penalized for not doing it, and keep it out of the general code system so that they can focus on other things. To the extent there's corruption, I haven't heard a lot of that, but certainly it needs to be reported and taken seriously, because we already have a crisis in our belief in government, and we need government to be able to do the things together that we can't do alone. So there's no room for corruption. If you've experienced that, you should absolutely report that to the police, to the city, whoever, everyone. And if I were elected, I would absolutely want to hear any claim of that.
I just quickly say, back then, I did go down to the Common Council to address certain issues,
right.
but couldn't get nothing from anybody down there.
We empathize. No disrespect.
Yeah.
We do have to move on,
Yeah,
sir.
okay.
Thank you. All right, next question, please. We'll make this for Mr. Morris.
Hi, Jones Browser, Southside resident and business owner. And my question is based on the concentrated poverty and how you propose to change the concentrated poverty typically on the south side, because a couple of people that was running said they have hands in real estate. I can't think of your name, sorry. She said something about the holding property owners are holdable also for trash, not just the businesses. And the Khalid said about improving development, and Frank talked about sidewalks and maintenance. So as far as concentrated poverty goes, and it's kind of like a two-part question as far as with concentrated poverty and jobs. So as far as concentrated poverty, what do you plan on to propose for at least the south side? Because we have so many people here who are living in low-income housing, which if that was more diverse throughout the city, we wouldn't have, people constantly having trash on the grounds, or sidewalks not cleaned up, or not the snow removal not gone, because some people don't even own shovels. I mean,
Right,
these people don't own lawnmowers.
Let's let Mr. Morris respond to the first part of that.
Thank you for the question. I think when we talk about poverty, we always got to talk about how do we create wealth. That's what it really all boils down to in our city. And in order to create wealth, we got to create jobs. We got to create opportunity.
Yes.
And I think we need to reopen Syracuse for business. I think where we have failed, and I mean that, F, like I would give one of my students an F. We have failed to do our job, to do our diligence and what we need to do when we're down representing the people of this city. One thing that I'm working with IMA, with the ministers here in Syracuse, is when 81 come down, and it is coming down, you're going to have people that need relocation. And giving them a voucher, or the ones that live in the housing authority, or different people who might be directly or indirectly affected by the 81 project, we have to ensure that eminent domain and people receive what they're due under the law. And we have to understand that property and owning your own property and being a landlord, and I own a real estate company. I own my real estate company now for 13 years, and we do well, and we continue doing.
All right.
And that's very, very important. So it's all about how do we create wealth, how do we create the opportunities in this city. And what was your second part?
We're going to have to move on to our next question.
Oh, I thought you had two parts.
Before we get evicted. Well, we're going to have to move on to the next young lady, but we will have a little mixer afterwards, maybe outside if they evict us. So these people are running for office. I'm for sure they'd like to answer your question and shake your hands on the way out. Please, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Palmer Harvey, and I'm the co-chair of Neighborhood Management and Housing Task Force of TNT Southside. My question is to you, particularly the ones who are current common councilors, about the 75% of people who work outside the city, and really seriously, how you think of the commuter tax actually being passed? Being brought up again, bearing the weight of the people who come into the city, our roads, we don't have enough money for this, but they should be paying for that instead of us.
All right, let me have Mr. Satera, then Mr. Bay.
Well, I think it's really important that we recognize that political boundaries are man-made and that there really is no boundary between our cities and our suburbs, and that we have to create a cohesive partnership with them so that we can work on that funding. The commuter tax is an issue that would only affect people from outside of the city, and instead we might look at the income tax. The city income tax, which is a progressive tax, which could replace the regressive property taxes that we currently have.
So I'm not understanding why they're not being more held responsible for it, because they're the one who's used the highways more than we do. Because you go more outside the city, just even to Camillus or DeWitt, their streets looks pristine compared to ours.
I agree. They should pay their share.
So
Let's ask the current
say,
councilors.
like, we should share, and it's like crazy. 75% of people don't live here.
There's some candidates who believes that money can vote. You know, so they've been held to business.
Who are these candidates? I need to talk to them.
Well, there's probably most of them, you know, to be blunt. People are, you know, whether you're talking a commuter tax that's just come up a lot, you know, the local hiring ordinance, ban the box, there's always a large conglomerate of business people who give pushback, and then people start running.
Who are the pushback?
Center State CEO, businesses in general.
His name dropped, and I'll be there.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is, let me finish. These things are constant, but often, I'll say what hasn't been said. Oftentimes, when we put forth those very important issues, we're usually standing by ourselves. And it's hard for one person to reach 144,000 people. So we got to use our communication mediums to stay abreast. We do our best to get the information out, but there are always very important issues going on. We need community backing to get some of these things passed.
All right, I want to get Ms. Hudson on this, but I have to get confirmation. Ms. Angela, can we keep going, or do we have to move on?
Yeah, you can get Ms. Hudson's thing.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ms. Hudson, please.
Oh, that's okay. And then I want to go back, you talked about the commuter tax, which we've asked that a lot, and when we do that, as he stated, is center state. And again, we would need to have you standing in the room. And we actually proposed, a year and a half ago, I proposed a resolution, went through the council unanimously, to ask the state. So you have other representatives, you have state representatives, which they basically control everything, okay? We asked the state to give us a waiver to force police and fire to live in the city of Syracuse. They won't touch it. That's $60 million a year that leaves our inner city, that we subsidize the suburbs. Right. So I think that that's an issue that we really need to seriously look at.
All right.
Yeah.
And we're going to take our last two at once. So I'm going to have this gentleman and then this young lady, and we'll let our panel intervene as necessary. Yes, sir.
First of all, my name is Charles Pierce L. I'm near Syracuse, and I want to applaud all the candidates at large in the Common Council, the district candidates. It's more of an appreciation that you came out, you know, and the power that we have in this room. I listen to all the candidates, but we are the power. We in this room here is the power. And just like we showed up to hear these candidates, we need to show up on Common Council to hear everybody speak. I used to go to Common Council all the time and just be me and Khalid there. I'd be the only resident that wasn't a city official that be in the audience. It is sad because we elect these people, but yet we don't support them on a massive scale. A lot of retirees, I don't expect the workers to get out there, but the retirees, we got enough retirees in this community that we can represent our elected officials to make sure they do the job that we want them to do. Because they can only do what we want them to do. So, and we got this voting number out here, we got voting power, we got community power, and we need to start using it collectively among ourselves and tell them what we want them to do for us. Thank you.
So, Mr. Charles Pierce, while you're telling us
Before
on
you
the
respond,
13th,
can we let this young lady interject before you respond? Okay. Please, let's get our last comment, and then we'll have our panel address with an overall closeout. Please.
Okay. All right.
So my question would be primarily directed to Ms. Hudson. Rosie Seals, who's running for Common Council as well, supports the Movement for Black Lives Matter platform, the Movement for Black Lives platform. And I do as well, do you? And what are some of the criticisms that you've heard about yourself and perhaps your work as a counselor and what you would do differently? Because I hear a lot of talk that, I'd like to hear from you.
Okay. First question I'm going to answer Charlie Pierce. The 13th, everybody in this room, I am introducing legislation to strengthen the MWBE. We're trying to get it up to 20%. I will be having a committee meeting 5 o'clock the 13th of June. So that's a way you can help me or the council, City Hall. Okay, so that community input we need to come out. And Black Lives Matter. Black lives probably matter to me more than anybody. Because I have a black son out here.
Yes.
Okay? My black son has been brutalized by the police out here.
Yes.
My black son has not only been brutalized by the police, he's been brutalized by his community as well. So if you talk about it, Black Lives Matter, guess I'm getting a little emotional here. Because see, the black lives that you're talking about, these are my babies that I watch every day. So if you're asking me what do I think about Black Lives Matter, I support it 100%. Because at this stage of the game, my son and my nephew and my grandsons and all of my community babies, all of their lives matter. I am co-founder of Mothers Against Gun Violence. I have went to over 300 family homes as they buried and mourned over their children. If you ask me if Black Lives Matter, girl, okay.
All right, we're going to close out with our remarks, so if you would like to send us home.
Thank you so much for to all the candidates for participating in tonight's forum. Please give them a round of applause. And thank you so much for being patient and all the questions from the community to the candidates. One thing I would definitely say to the candidates is we welcome you back, because these are one of many forums that we are going to have. But the one thing about the South Side that we truly care about, and we had put out what, the top 3 issues that we care about, and I just want to reinstate that to you guys just on your platform is running, and we welcome you back. One, we definitely are looking for our Common Council members to be community partners with us, to engage us, to come